Hello, it's me again. I promise you, the last one was recorded on time, but not uploaded anywhere near on time. So I'm gonna try and fix that with this one. Alright. So we left off at chapter 4. And as you notice, I didn't say, hey guys, Wasteland Rebel here, because if you check my channel, which you should, because you're watching this right now, it's Prototype VA. Because I want to go into the voice acting business, and that would be pretty awesome. So just give me a shout out. Wait. Don't listen to me. Alright. Let's start on night 4. There's like 4 chapters left. You know what? Let's try and finish it today. Okay? Okay. This is going to take so long to upload. Whatever. Here we go. Taking forever to load. Scroll down. Thank you. Oh my god. Night 4. Pinkie talks it over. Pinkie sat on the hotel bed, crying her eyes out. Mr. Fast sat beside her, occasionally patting her heavy back. Her heaving back. Oh my goodness. He was afraid this would happen. Pinkie had gotten much thinner, and it took concentration to keep her remaining poopy during the day. Mr. Fast sighed deeply. He hated seeing Pinkie Pie like this. Pinkie Pie, if you need to, I don't know, quit, I would be happy to take over for you. Mr. Fast shivered on the inside, and he gulped. The last night he had done was nearly impossible, his flashlight running out of battery, the little boy inside the room, Mangle on the roof, and the music box running down. Pinkie shot upright, her tears drying immediately. She looked offended. Quit? I can't quit. I Pinkie promised you I would get through this week, and that's what I'm going to do. You didn't really, Pinkie Pie. Speaking of which, I'm almost late, and that won't do, will it? But Pinkie bolted out the door, shouting a hasty goodbye. She did it because she knew she wouldn't be brave enough to go there if she thought about it. Inching the doors opened slightly, the smell of pizza permeated the air. Pinkie took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent until she realized where she was, and who she had come to meet. The warm air of the restaurant now seemed cold. Sneaking inside, she stole a look at the clock. She was late. It was 12:10. Pinkie didn't exactly know where she was going, but she had a pretty good idea. Stealing off to Kids Go, Pinkie went to meet Torchica and Mangle. Where is she? Ian should have been here by now. Torchica looked at the rapidly cooling pizza. Mangle just shrugged. An angel skeleton appeared right next to her head and said, Who should have been here by now? Both Mangle and Torchica jumped high in the air. Mangle actually clinged to the ceiling. Mangle gasped, Don't do that! Why not? They looked at each other. Torchica sighed, Listen, there's something extremely important I have to tell you about this place. This is going to be a long story, so sit down and have some pizza. Pinkie shrugged and took a seat. She took one bite and gasped. This pizza is amazing! Who made it? Mangle tried to raise her hand, only succeeding in falling over. I did. Pinkie stopped and raised a questioning eyebrow at Chica and Sergeant Springles. Chica laughed. Ah, you're thinking that I'm the foodie. No, I'm more into robots. Mangle's the real foodie here. Her voice dropped, and tried to look as serious as you can when your face is stuck in a permanent smile. But that's not the real reason I wanted to talk to you. First, let me say Mangle and I are really sorry for scaring you last night. We didn't mean to. Pinkie grumbled something about not crawling around and sneaking up on ponies. Chica pretended not to notice. Now let's get to the actual reason I called you here. You see, this restaurant has a bit of a bad backstory. Pinkie was about to talk until Chica held up her hand. Let me finish. So before us, there were things in the parts and service room. We're pretty certain they were the old versions of us. Well, duh! I know that, Pinkie Pie said like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Chica blinked. Mangle took up the story. They worked at a restaurant called Fazbear's Family Dining, basically doing the same things we do now, except for the games, so on and so forth. And at Fazbear's Family Dining there was an accident, I guess. Mangle, don't tell her about this, Chica said, glaring daggers at Mangle. We have to. She needs to know. Pinkie watched the exchange, finally chiming in when it was about to come to blows. Hey, I want to know. Don't leave me in the dark. Chica sighed. I'm sorry for what's coming next. Pinkie's head exploded in pain as something smashed into her head. The last word she uttered before succumbing into darkness was, I didn't mean it literally. Mangle jumped back as Pinkie hit the floor, the old and terrifying Chica right behind her. Mango was unperturbed. What was that? That wasn't part of the plan. Old Chica didn't answer. She never did. Poor Chica agreed, though. It was part of my plan. Well, I suppose I should say, our plan. But we were going to talk it over. Convince her that she should get in the suit. This way isn't fair, Mango whined. So Chica kept walking. Life isn't fair. But... She stopped, pinning Mango against the wall. Did you not hear me when I said I'm interested in robots? Guess what we are, Mango. Robots? Precisely. That means I know what makes us tick. I know how you tick, Mango, and I also know how to make that ticking stop. Chica let her go. Go back to your kid's cove, Mango. We don't need you. With that, Chica resumed walking towards the parts and service. Mango uttered one word. Why? For the first time, old Chica answered, vengeance will be served. Pinkie woke up to an aching headache, her brain hurting. The first thing she noticed was the dark, and then the silence. She was not used to silence. Nearly everywhere she went, ponies were laughing or playing or at least talking to her. But now the silence bore down on her like a 48.5-pound bag of potatoes. Wakey, wakey, Toy Chica's voice crackled through the speakers of the camera. I'm in your office, looking at your cameras, but I'm not the one here that wants to talk to you. Pinkie Pie looked straight at the camera. She couldn't tell it, but Toy Chica squirmed. Who wants to talk to me? Pinkie said in a dangerously low voice. Toy Chica answered simply, them, then turned on the camera light, and they stepped into the light. Old Freddy led the gang, with Chica following right behind him, and Foxy coming next. Bonnie stumbled around a bit, then got in line. None of them talked. What do you want? Pinkie said, trying and failing to sound strong and brave. No one answered. However, there was movement. Bonnie pulled out of his face a piece of paper and passed it along the line. Freddy grabbed it and shoved it under Pinkie's nose. She looked. Hey, I know this pony. It was a purple unicorn I saw at the beginning of the week. She raised a confused eyebrow. What does this have to do with anything? Freddy retracted his arm and, giving it to Chica, who gave it to Foxy, nodded in some sort of signal. Pinkie was sure she saw Foxy smiling a bit, if such a thing could happen. He grabbed the paper in his actual hand and quickly shoved it through the purple unicorn's head. Pinkie paled as much as a bright pink pony could. You're mad at him? Hey, what are you doing back there? She squeaked. Chica had left the line and went into darkness. Pinkie could swear her eyes glowed. Chica then walked back, carrying a Freddy Fazbear suit. What are you doing with that? Pinkie said that, even though she knew exactly what they were going to do with it. Chica opened the head of the suit with the greatest of care. She nodded to Freddy. Freddy roughly picked up the pink pony and lifted her over to the suit. He prepared to supper in the suit, but he waited. He liked to see them squirming beforehand. He turned away one split second to send some orders off to Bonnie. Then he turned back to see that the pink pony was gone. Ding dong. Then he shut down. When he shut down, he saw a certain pink pony blowing raspberries at him from the doorway of the parts and service. Alright, that was Chapter 4. Or, I think Chapter 5, but Night 4. That was fun, wouldn't you say? The author left a note that said this is the last night of constant fright, and tomorrow is Pinkie Pie's gonna have fun. So, I'll get on to the next chapter, but I'm gonna stop the recording temporarily so that I can drink. Alright. Okay, we're back. Alright. Night 5. Pinkie Goes Ham. Pinkie grinned a grin that would have been physically impossible if it wasn't Pinkie grinning this grin. She looked down at the roof of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, then looked at the 10,000 balloons that were tied to her back. Then at her saddlebag full of various pranks. She giggled happily, then stopped because it sounded too much like Phoebe. Now how to get down? A time and space phase later, Pinkie entered the restaurant in the loudest, most bouncy manner possible. In other words, she shot herself out of the party cannon, then began running at supersonic speed, setting up all of her tricks in record time. She stopped in the office, turning off the stopwatch. 6.54 seconds. That's the fastest yet. Toy Bonnie woke up to an Endo's face right in front of his. Surprised and a little scared, he leaned back. Suddenly, the Endo began to sing. This is your singing telegram, I hope it finds you well. Bonnie took a glance at Freddy and Chica. They both shrugged, Chica barely suppressing a laugh. So help me celebrate. This cake will be delicious. The commotion attracted the puppet, Mango, and Bibi. Bonnie pleaded with his eyes for someone to come and save them. Bibi laughed loudly. The puppet did nothing, and Mango's mouth dropped, mainly at the fact that the Endo was still naked. So come and be my guest. He was silent for a long time while the animatronics tried to think of a response. Mango ventured forward with an unsure answer. Yes? Great! Pinkie yelled, startling all. Her eye twitched slightly at the sight of Chica, but nobody noticed. Pinkie then struck a hero pose. "To the Batcave!" She paused, thinking on what she had said. "I mean, to the office! We don't have a Batcave, although it would be really cool if we did, because Freddy stopped the yammering Indo by stepping in front of her." "And why would we?" he asked. "Well, duh, because of the party." Pinkie made quite sure Chica heard this. "And balloons?" A glance at BB. "And the prizes?" A glance at the puppet. Chica and BB's eyes widened as the programming took over. Puppet's eyes would have widened, but since he didn't have any eyes, he just settled for a mysterious opponent-like grunt. Chica instantly became much nicer. "Let's party!" Pinkie threw her hoof into the air. "You said it, sister. To the office cave!" Pinkie bounced off, giggling, occasionally spasmodically twitching, while the animatronic shrugged and followed. The party was in full swing, the puppet dancing to the music that Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie were supplying. Baby was making more balloons than the pink pony could count. She grinned, watching the balloons of all different colors float up to the ceiling. Her hoof twitched spasmodically. The only animatronic not having fun was Mangle. She stared intently at Chica and Pinkie, trying to edge her towards Pinkie without alerting Chica. This soon proved to be futile as Pinkie jumped on top of the table and yelled at the top of her voice, "Balloon party at the entrance!" and dashed out, leaving a smoking version of herself in the wake of speed. The music began to wind down as every single animatronic, except for Mangle and Chica, began to trickle out. Chica turned to Mangle. "Listen, you amalgamation of broken pieces. I've seen you trying to get close to that Endo. I know I'll make you take Mangle, and I will make that ticking stop. Do I make myself clear?" Wait. Isn't that the threat from the last chapter?" Mangle pulled out a hidden script and flipped through it. "And stop saying everything I'm doing, Terminal." "But guys, that's my job. I'm the narrator's story maker." Chica pulled out her own version of the script. "Yep, that's basically the exact same threat. Hey Terminal, mind spacing it up a bit? You know, actually making us say different things? I have writer's block, okay? Just give me a break. It took me like 3 months to get this far." Pinkie popped in. "What are you guys talking about?" Chica sighed and put her hand to her forehead. Terminal has writer's block and is messing up her script. "Aw, that's no fun. How about I become narrator for a little bit?" "Pinkie, if you become narrator, you'll completely ruin the atmosphere." "No, I won't. How about this?" Mangle and Chica became good friends and went to the kitchen and made some cupcakes. All the others used Pinkie Pie's party pan and made a huge party, and everyone was invited. The old animatronics stopped being such meanie pants and joined, and we all lived happily ever after. Everyone just stared and Pinkie. Mangle spoke up. "I don't actually object to that. That sounds kind of fun." No. Everyone just get back to your scripts and stop breaking the fourth wall." Fine. Alright, where were we?" "You just threatened me." I nodded in fear, and we both walked down to the entrance. "Oh, yeah." Pinkie giggled to herself as the animatronics began to slowly trickle in, with Chica and Mangle being the last. They looked around confusedly. Where was this endoskeleton? And more importantly, where was the party she had promised? "Surprise!" Pinkie fell down from the roof, landing on top of Bonnie, who promptly fell over. She was pretty certain Bonnie was saying something along the "Why me?" but that didn't matter. It just mattered that he was there. Getting off of Bonnie, she then promptly pulled out a sign that looked suspiciously like BB's sign for balloons. BB looked in his hand. He wasn't surprised to see that his sign was gone. "Okay, robots and things," the puppet huffed. "We are going to have a competition. Do you see these balloons?" Pinkie indicated with her hoof a massive pile of balloons which filled up the entire left half of the entrance. "What Of course we can see them!" Chica all but yelled at Pinkie's face. "Aw, don't have that attitude. I might have to disqualify you." Pinkie twitched more violently than ever, attracting everyone else's attention. Mangle gulped quietly, snuck a glance at Chica, and crawled over to Pinkie. Are you okay, Indo?" She corrected herself just in time. "Why wouldn't I be? Let's go partay!" Freddy shrugged, making it down to glitches, and everybody went over to the massive balloon pile. "Here are the rules. Don't run, don't yell, don't scream, don't poop on the—" "Indo, we already know these rules. They're rules of the restaurant," Freddy explained. Pinkie thought for a minute. "Oh, yeah. Here are the rules. You have to take some balloons, inflate them, and tie them to you as fast as you can. Whoever gets off the floor and touches the ceiling first wins." The puppet grunted in a way that basically said, "This is a stupid idea for infantiles which I shall not participate in." On your mark, we all got a balloon. Get set, competitive glares. Go! The animatronics hit the ground running, then switched slow to a trot, then a walk, then a crawl. Mangle couldn't tie them onto herself because she kept popping them. Freddy was pretty certain his fingers weren't supposed to go that way. Chica accidentally tied herself up, and Bonnie couldn't tie them at all. BB, however, was going at lightning speed. It didn't take long for him to get 10, then 20, and 30 all tied up on his propeller hat. He began to gently float off the ground. Still tying, he laughed as he saw his fat feet leave the ground. Boop! Phoebe reached out an arm and gently touched the ceiling. "Congratulations!" Pinkie was right up in his face, smiling and holding out a cupcake. Phoebe stared at the cupcake in confusion. "I can't eat anything," he said flatly. The other animatronic gawked. "Wait," Freddy said. "How did we blow up the balloons if we don't have any lungs?" Pinkie ignored them and somehow managed to get her hoof around all of them and ushered them out the door back to the office. "This is a terrible idea," Freddy wailed as he tried to keep his ground, but ultimately failed, falling to the floor. Chica shrugged. "I find it pretty easy," she said as she fell down over Freddy. Bonnie just hugged the wall. "You guys are overreacting," Pinkie said, doing a nice flip over the fallen Chica and Freddy. She skid over to Bonnie. "Aw, don't worry, Bonnie. When I first invented banana skates, I was just as wibbly-wobbly as you are." Bonnie looked so hopeful. "Really?" "Well, no, but does it make you feel better?" "I guess." "Good. Hey, Bibi, are you getting pretty good at that?" Pinkie smiled at Bibi, her eye twitching. Mangle and the puppet couldn't participate, mainly because the puppet just flat out refused, and there was no place to put the banana skate on Mangle anyway. Pinkie looked around, suddenly noticed the absence of her crazy-looking friend. Hey, has anyone seen Mangle?" Her words were drowned out by Bonnie suddenly crashing into the floor. Pinkie turned to look, only to see the more terrifying version of him standing over the now headless Toy Bonnie. Wheeler Bonnie ripped off Toy Bonnie's face and put it in the crevice where his was supposed to be. Pinkie's tail began to twitch. Quickly ducking, she watched as withered Foxy flew overhead and smashed into the wall behind her. Pinkie looked at the vents, hoping for a method of escape. Withered Freddy was in one, Withered Chica in the other. "Hi, guys. Glad to see you made it," she yelped as Withered Chica launched herself out of the vent, just barely missing Pinkie. In a flash, Pinkie had gone into the vent that Chica had just recently left. Calling at a speed that would have astounded Sonic, she pulled herself out of the vent only to be confronted with Withered Bonnie, who promptly shut the door of the party room. Pinkie turned back to the vent only to see it was blocked by Withered Freddy. She gulped. "Cake?" she tried weakly. Bonnie smacked the kick out of her hooves in advance. She eyed the vent. Freddy was still in there. Of course he knew her plan. Pinkie prepared herself for the pain that never came. A screeching metal thing fell from the floor, launching itself onto Withered Bonnie. Pinkie knew when she had a break. She ran at the door and wrenched it open, immediately heading for the exit. She completely ignored the cacophony surrounding her, staring intently at the pair of double doors that would save her life. Leaving the door, she just faintly heard the sound of a 6 a.m. bell ringing. Smiling to herself at her lucky escape, Pinkie suddenly realized what the blinding thing that fell from the ceiling was. It was probably deactivated now. Her smile faded from her face. Mangle had saved her life. Hot tears of shame and anger and sadness soaked the pavement outside. She stared at the balloons which inexplicably appeared on her back. Reaching into her mane, she pulled out a pad of paper and pen. She threw the paper away and wrote directly on the doors. "I quit." Well, alrighty then. That was a fun 5th night. They broke the 4th wall once or twice. Pretty great. I'm gonna keep going because there's only like, what, 2 more nights? Let me see here. So there's still... There's night 6. Sorry, these things take forever to load. And night 7. And yes, I know there are 7 nights in the game, but I did not know whether or not he decided to stick to the game. These ones are only 100 words long, so it shouldn't take that long to record. How long have I recorded? Oh god, 18 minutes. Alright, night 6, the prologue of the epilogue. Scroll, please. Oh god. Thank you. Pinkie stared out the window at the scenery speeding by. She pulled her mind out of the dreamland and looked over at the train car full of ponies. She smiled gently. This time of crazy grins was over now, as was the time of ridiculously loud shenanigans. Pinkie thought back to the time as night guard of the once exalted but now feared buyer pizza place known as Freddy Fazbear's. She thought back to Sweet Mangle. Pinkie had only known her true self for a little bit, and it was apparent Mangle was just loyal to the core. As she thought, her eyes began to droop. Non-stop craziness for 5 nights had really worn her down, as did the loss of her friend. A second later, and Pinkie was in the dreamscape. A bounce from the train ride soon jolted Pinkie awake. She stretched, looking up at the ceiling at the comforting sight of Mangle. "Morning, Mangle." Mangle waved and crawled down to Pinkie's level, where she got snatched up from something big and purple behind her. Now Pinkie was really awake. Turning, she saw Mangle being slowly torn apart by Withered Bonnie, while Withered Chica, Freddy, and Foxy stood in the background. Pinkie stared in horror as Freddy stepped forward. towering over her, and then he suddenly collapsed? She laughed weakly. After all, it's not every day you get to see your nightmares trip. The laughter stopped suddenly as it had come. Was Freddy changing a different color? She could swear he was brown just a couple moments ago, not gold. She stepped back as the other animatronic crumbled in the dust and blew away, leaving her alone with the golden version of Freddy. The golden Freddy. Goldie. She began to run, anywhere but there was needed. Goldie gave her a sense of dread whenever she looked at it. You think you know fear. Pinkie gasped as she heard the voice in her head. Get out of my head, she screamed. Those trinkets of mine are just little things. I will show you real fear. Her head throbbed with pain as she realized she just ran to the doors. No escape, Pinkie Pie. A blinding flash of light filled the cabin as Princess of the Night appeared right in front of Pinkie, blocking Goldie's gaze. Thy shall be silent, swine! A quick burst of alicorn magic, and Goldie disappeared from view. Are you all right? Yeah, Pinkie answered, trying her best not to faint. Then suddenly she realized how Fluttershy must feel all the time. Wake up, Pinkie Pie. I don't know what you saved to cause you the element of laughter this, but your friends are worried. Luna waved her vaguely around the darkened train cars. The monstrosity that was Mangle and the withered one seemingly frozen in space. They all disappeared in a blink, being replaced by the train station outside. Pinkie's 5 friends were standing there, looking nervously from pony to pony as the train slowly emptied. Go to them. Luna placed a hoof on Pinkie's shoulder, and then she woke up. Pinkie woke to see a cyan hoof meticulously drawing a perfect mustache and glasses on her face with a black marker. Rainbow! Pinkie shot out of her seat and engulfed Rainbow in a hug, effectively choking her at the same time. Hey, Pinkie, are you okay? Rainbow Dash's playful tone turned into one of worry when she realized Pinkie was crying. No, I'm not okay. I need to talk to all of you right now. Pinkie was sobbing into Rainbow's mane, soaking it with an unreal amount of tears she was producing. It was like a waterfall had suddenly decided to come out of her eyes. A thoroughly soaked Rainbow Dash came out of the train, carrying on her back the crying Pinkie. Rainbow hailed over the other elements of harmony. Guys, how do we get Pinkie to stop soaking me? She won't stop crying. Murmurs of consternation went through the group. They huddled together, talking about how to get their hyperactive friend back. I got it, Rarity suddenly yelled. Every pony stared at her. Yes, well, she went on to explain it. Twilight walked forward. You know that place you went to in Manhattan with the magical robot things? Pinkie nodded carefully. One of those is coming to Ponyville. She was engulfed by darkness. Well, one more. Yeah! Mr. Faz entered his restaurant, the darkness shrouding his empty tables. He looked at the clock. 10:30 p.m. There was time. He walked around, not even slightly perturbed by the missing animatronics or the I Quit scrawled on the doors. Upon entering the main hall, he saw devastation. That was definitely Mangle's head stuck in the ceiling, and he was pretty certain Chica was supposed to be in one part. He kicked the broken toy Bonnie, ignored the destroyed toy Chica, walked over the devastated toy Freddy. The puppet had all the stuff pulled out of him, and Baby was nowhere to be seen. Withered animatronics were scattered across the lower half of the restaurant. He took a peek into the office. Chica was in the left vent, and Foxy was smooshed against the wall. He swore softly. Entering one of the party rooms, he saw Bonnie with Mangle's left arm in his hand, and Freddy in the vent. This time he swore loudly. A soft purple glow began to emanate from him. It soon completely engulfed him, throwing strange shadows across the wall. The magic formed a bubble around Mr. Faz, causing an explosion outwards. Where Mr. Faz once stood was now a strange purple unicorn who had the most bored expression on his face. He frowned. Pinkie Pie was supposed to have destroyed, or at least decommissioned all of them. Everything would have been made easier and faster if she did. He was going to start over in Ponyville and leave what he did in the past. Forgive and forget, minus the forget part. He regretted nothing. He turned around and bucked Withered Bonnie in the chest. It left a small dent, but nothing too serious. Oh, how he cursed the day he was made a unicorn and not a powerful Earth pony. The purple unicorn sighed and walked over to parts and service. He went to the very back of the room, looking at the mess that used to be actual Mr. Faz, grimacing. Purple pushed it back farther, away from the cameras. Once this place closed up, everything would be forgotten. The only problem was that he was going to get new animatronics via the insurance money. Robbers, he would have said, since Pinkie hadn't destroyed them all and the withered ones were salvageable. He wasn't going to get that money. Walking back to the old ones, he went to Bonnie and saw that his leg had to go, and he had to get a new arm. Fortunately, Mangle's arm and leg fit Bonnie's endoskeleton's exact design. Purple smiled a grim smile. Of course the other missing limbs would have to be replaced, but that didn't bother him. He would start over all right. He will not go to jail. The big menace will take his place. And that's it. That's the entire story. Yeah. Well, that was enjoyable, don't you think? I read it in my somewhat super smooth voice, with some not super smooth taps against the mic by accident. Wow, I can record for 164 hours. Well, that was fun. I need some suggestions, though, for the next story. Please leave in the comments below. Do not leave me hanging, or I'll just start reading random ones. I plan on doing some singing in the future in that, and also, if you would like me to read your story, or anyone else's that you know and would really appreciate, also leave that in the comments. I wouldn't mind doing a song with one of you guys, though. I need some people to sing with, I guess. So, hit me up. I think probably gonna have to do it on Google Hangout because I don't want to use Skype, which is probably something I should do, but I don't. Alright guys, I'm gonna end it here. This is Prototype, signing out.